Hi, my name is Megan Kennedy. I live in Tennessee, and I will be discussing the evolution of one of my personal favorite genre of movies, horror films. There has always been a love to spook and terrify people with stories or even letting someone's imagination get the better of them, and nothing represents that better than the horror film genre. And no one has inspired horror before quite like Edgar Allan Poe, well known for his many dark writings. He was a man quite ahead of his own time, and he often struggled financially and also with recognition for his work. However, now we can look back and be inspired by him through horror movies. The first horror movie was a French movie translated in the English language as The Devil's Castle, made all the way back in the 1890s. This film presented the story of a man who could turn himself into a bat. When it was made, it was more for people's entertainment and to be amused, but today it is still considered by many to be the very first horror film ever made. What I've always found interesting about horror movies is that these movies long ago started out where the antagonist of the film was some kind of horrific monster in some secluded place. And while those types of horror films are still made today, such as the recent Cabin in the Woods film, there has been a drastic change in horror films where the antagonist ends up being a sometimes pretty normal looking person. It shows that sometimes not all monsters come from abandoned castles and creepy swamps. Today, horror films have done a fantastic job of delving into the human mind and dealing with the psychological aspects of pretty much being a horror film murderer. And I believe that fascination with the human mind is why there has been such an increase of interest in horror films over the past few years with The Conjuring, Carrie, and so forth. I did some research to further understand this reasoning when I came across an article that had this to say: Scaring is caring. That comes down to old-fashioned storytelling, making characters sympathetic and real. I found that very interesting. Now, the reason why we become so terrified with watching a horror film is because we are given the time to get to know the characters and care about what is about to happen to them. And we see this in many types of horror films, no matter how they are presented. Whether they are high-budget films which hold nothing back to show the gore and the dark atmosphere, or even a low-budget film that is presented as maybe a found-footage film, such as some of the most well-known movies would be The Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity. While horror films have always constantly been changing as time progresses, there will always be that influence from the great old classics such as Dracula and Frankenstein. And I think as long as horror films remain loyal to that, they will just keep getting better as time goes on. And that makes me very excited as an aspiring filmmaker to see that progression. That was my presentation. I hope you liked it, and until next time, good day and goodbye.